This music is more than the melody.
Yes, welcome back. And now we're moving on to what we wanted to start with initially, which was the GDP rebasing and poverty alleviation. Within the last 1 week, as Alera said, and as we all know, not just Alera saying it, the rebasing of the GDP was done. And then we heard that Nigeria is now number 26 in the global economy rating.
Number one in Africa.
Number one in Africa. Bigger, our economy is bigger than that of South Africa, which was number one prior to this week. But in the same breath, in Washington, just this last week, in advance of the World Bank IMF spring meeting, the World Bank president, Dr. Jim Yong Kim, stated that the global bank will deal with extreme poverty in Nigeria and helping its counterparts in other parts of the world. In essence, it is saying, the World Bank is making it clear that Nigeria has issues of extreme poverty across the land. Now, where do we stand on the issue, or how do we explain extreme poverty and rebasing of an economy that has now put us in the position of number 26 in the world? These are some of the issues we want to look at this morning to have a clearer understanding and to make it easier for us to know the significance of the rebasing of our economy.
Like I was saying to you at the beginning of the program, the man on the street is saying, I still have to live on less than $1 a day. Yes. So what is the meaning of all this grammar?
Yes, so we'll discuss that, and to join us to discuss it this morning, on my right-hand side, we've got Mr. Johnson Chukwu, who's the MD Carry Asset Management. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
And on the left-hand side, Mr. Odelim Anwegbara, who's a financial analyst. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, let me start with you, Mr. Johnson Chukwu. When we say that we have rebased our economy, and now in terms of the economic strength, or in terms of whatever economic yardstick that you would have used, Nigeria is now globally number 26 in terms of the strength and depth and whatever else to describe our economy. Where do you think that takes us?
Well, where it takes us is that today, the Nigerian economy, in terms of size, because like when you made the comments you made earlier, there's a clear difference between the size or the growth of the economy and the development of the economy. What in terms of size, we have become the 26th largest economy in the world. We are on half a $500 billion economy. That actually has elevated Nigeria's status in terms of economic size. But it does not necessarily mean that the average Nigerian has woke up on Sunday morning or slept on Sunday evening, and woke up on Monday morning and found more money on his table. What we have just done is to recompute the monetary value of goods and services produced in this economy to actually arrive at the actual size of what we are producing. Previously, we had a GDP that did not reflect the totality of the several economic sectors in the system. But now what we have done is to recognize that we have these sectors and bring the totality, sum of all the sectors together and have a total and say, look, today, instead of having the 284 billion GDP, Nigeria has the 510 billion GDP. If you look at what they did, there were several sectors that were previously limited in the 1999 computation of GDP. And 1990 GDP. Things like the entertainment industry, it was almost non-existent. Look at the issue of telecoms. And those sectors have grown tremendously. And what we have done is to actually say, look, the world can now say, look, these are the sectors growing, these are actually the size of this economy, these are the potentials of the economy, these are the challenges associated with this economy.
How do you do the mixing and matching of this whole talk about rebasing when you say that the economy has grown to this size and is 26 globally, and yet you still have extreme poverty? Because if you're doing so much business and if activities within the economy is so dynamic, you would expect that it would spread across the board.
Well, those are the issues. One, what's the structure of the economy? The structure of the Nigerian economy, until recently, has been rent-driven. And what happens is the growth we've seen in terms of size have been trapped by a few segments of that population. If you look at the Nigerian distribution of income, you find out that, look, like the World Bank said, more than 100 million Nigerians still live on a less than $1.25 per day. But Nigeria has also produced within the last 10 years a number of billionaires. You see, that's what I'm saying, that what is happening in the economy is that the growth you are seeing is not drilling down to the majority of the population because of the structure of the economy. You are seeing a country with number of billionaires growing. I mean, the last ranking by, is it Forbes, had about 4 or 5 Nigerians as billionaires. Today, Nigeria has produced the richest man in Black Africa. And where was that wealth created? Within the economy. So you don't have the even distribution of income. And that's why you're having abject poverty coexisting within an economy that has grown by 89% in terms of size. And basically, if you now disaggregate the structure of the economy, you now locate where the problem is coming from. And I think the problem is coming from the fact that the economy has shifted from an industry-based economy to a service-based economy. Today, the service industry accounts for 52% of the GDP. Previously, it was accounting for 29% of the GDP. And we know that service industry are naturally not job creating. If you look at the banking industry, for instance, or look at the telecom sector, or look at trade and the growth sectors, the growth sectors are issues like wholesale and retail trade, telecom sector, construction industry. Those are growing above 10%. How many people do they employ? They don't create employment. The sector that has created employment are manufacturing. Manufacturing today, with the rebasing, is still less than 8%. We need to.
But 8% compared to what?
4%.
So in essence, it has grown.
It has grown, but it has not grown at the same rate that the sectors. And that's where you see the shift from an industry-based sector. And if you see Nigeria, progressively unemployment has been increasing. Progressively, poverty level has been increasing. In proportion, when you look at the proportion of the population that are poor.
Okay. Let me ask Odilin then. In terms of where we were in 1999 and where we are now, I'd like you to just very, very quickly take us through what did we get wrong that made it such that in an economy that has grown almost exponentially over the last 10, 15 years, how did we get it so wrong that we still have extreme poverty when we have so many billionaires?
First of all, let me clarify one thing. I want us to be clear about what is happening, because sometimes we confuse matters. Nigeria in 1994 joined WTO, opened its borders, which means the cost, unless cost of doing business is lower than elsewhere, those whose cost of doing business is lower take advantage of Nigerian consumer market, and as a result, they displace manufacturing and they displace jobs. So that's what has happened during this period of time. Two, let's now look at what is called growth in Nigeria, because when people talk growth, I get offended, because actually what is growing in the Nigerian economy is the oil sector. It's the oil sector. That's why the billionaires they are talking about, actually, show me a Nigerian billionaire that has nothing to do with oil. No, show me, forget about what they do not, they mask themselves. It's the oil that they have actually colluded with those in government and controlled it to their own benefits. Because Nigerian economy is externally, the revenue generation is externally driven, which means oil. As a result, it has multiplier effect with a trickle-down effect. Because it's not real sector driven. Because if it's real sector manufacturing driven, then it becomes that what is the function of an economic growth? It is ability to create jobs. That's why every month America shows how many thousands of jobs created. That's why America between 2010 and 2013 was able to create 8.7 million in manufacturing jobs. And China creates 6 to 6.5 million jobs in manufacturing jobs every year. So when people say that we have migrated from manufacturing to the service, you ask yourself, why should it happen? And have we been a manufacturing nation in the first place? The answer I'm saying. Or that we have reduced agriculture because service has come in. You ask yourself, are we self-dependent? Are we producing enough of food we eat? So these are the problems.